inspiring you to set the marketplace ablaze in partnership with an awesome and limitless God. This is the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast, and this isn't business as usual. Here's your host and Chief Fire Igniter, Shae Bynes.
Welcome back to the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. This is your host, Shae Bynes, and our goal here is to inspire you to operate your business completely yielded and in partnership with our awesome and limitless God. Today's conversation is with a dear, dear friend of mine. His name is Andy Mason, and he is the director of Heaven in Business and the author of a recent book release that is quite timely for this season. It's called Finding Hope in Crazy Times. And one of the things that I appreciate so much about Andy is that he's just been one of those friends that I could take my craziest God adventures and stories to, and he'd never be caught off guard. I mean, because he's committed to living a life of the impossible. In other words, trusting in God to believe for the impossible to take place. And not only does he live that way, he lives that way very authentically. And it's the gift that he carries to the world for, people all over the world. And it's really been a gift to my life as well. This next hour of this podcast is pretty much just a conversation between Andy and I. We're talking about, how he overcame his stinking thinking about marketing. We talk about taking risks, following the voice of God when things just don't seem to make sense. He has some really rich testimonies in here that I believe will truly bless you. And so enjoy this conversation with my friend, Andy Mason. Andy Mason, my friend, my brother, who you didn't know you were my brother until I told you you were. What's going on, man?
Oh, man, it's so good. Exactly. You are my sister. It's like, this is fun. Yes. There is lots going on. And I love how you just said, let's not have the before the record button conversation. Let's just hit record and that everybody's listening can hear. This is the good, the bad, the ugly. There is, there used to be here's the show. It's like, no, it's everything. You're going to get everything.
Yes.
So I love that.
Yes.
So I was just thinking, it seems to be that there's two worlds. I have two worlds. There's the world where I was born for this. This is awesome. Look, like the uncertainty, God's right smack bang in the middle of it. I have faith. I have hope. I'm excited. I'm seeing this happen. That's really cool. And then there's the mornings. I wake up this morning. It's like, dang, I've got an appointment with my accounting department today. I've got to do the budget. And the numbers look like a $40,000 loss for the year in July of this year. And what do I budget for next year? We're going to have
all this, I don't know what's happening stuff.
Let's just tell another testimony. It's like, whoa, I got to live in both. And I think I'm living between those two. And then there's a third area, and thankfully I'm not here, which is I don't want to do either of those. So I'm just going to distract myself and just going to read social media. And now I'm even more depressed. And now I'm just going to binge Netflix. And now I'm going to watch someone else. And they're complaining about, yeah. So that's bury my head in the world that I can do nothing about. And
yeah. I mean, you traveled to Germany.
Yep.
And then didn't you leave Germany like right at the last second before they closed the country to get home? And then you had to be quarantined at your house in the basement for 14 days?
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. I did a podcast on actually out of this that came out of, it's not my decision. It's not actually my risk to take. I'm healthy. I'm 46 years old. I run. I eat well. In terms of me losing my life, the chances are incredibly low. But I'm in a family, and I have a daughter who's got a health condition and a heart problem, enlarged aortic root. So she has asthma. If she gets a cold, she struggles to breathe. So, okay, I've got a vulnerable family. I've got staff members. So one of my team is married, and her husband has got some immune system going on, crazy stuff. And then another staff member, they are getting married to somebody who's got born with immune deficiency problems. So it's like, oh, I cannot think for myself. So I'm in Germany. Even the decision, Holy Spirit, do I go?
To even go in the first place? Because that was, they had already announced, all this craziness had already started before you even decided to go.
But we were safe. I'm healthy. Germany's where we're going is going to be okay. So do we go? Do we not go? Andy leading heaven in business. And am I just going to circle the wagons and hide, or do I? So it's even all of those decisions to make. And so talking with my wife, so it's supposed to be the Ukraine was the trip. And first time there, 300 plus business people lit up for partnering with God in the work. They are like so hungry. They've been wanting to do this for ages. I'm like, here we go. This is going to be interesting. We get to Germany. We decide to go because we decided unless they cancel the meetings, we're going.
Okay.
So we get to Germany. And I'm staying with some friends. And when we land in Germany, we get word from Ukraine that the meetings are cancelled and that I could get into the country, but it would be like, like you're now crossing some lines here. You might not get out.
Right.
And so then it was, okay, I'm in Germany. I have got one meeting with business people in Germany. We will do some social distancing and be careful. I'm talking with my wife. Now what do? If I can't go to Ukraine, do I go to Netherlands? I've got friends there. Do I go to, do I do some more with Germany? Or do I head straight home? And it's like, so we pray as a team, and I talk to my wife, and it was like the Netherlands are saying, come to us. And or do I sneak over to Ukraine and meet with their leaders and encourage them? It's kind of like the Book of Acts.
Right.
And so we're just praying about it. And I had 2 third-year students with me. So they're seeing inside, up front, how do we make decisions on the go? And I have to make a decision now. At the time, the planes were 90% empty. So it was like, it's going to be a problem. I'm supposed to fly back to the States on, I think, the following Monday. And this is now, I think, Wednesday. So Wednesday, we're sitting in Germany. God, what do we do? And Janine and I feel like we talk to the local church in Germany and their business community. If they want us to do something extra there, then let's do it. Otherwise, straight back to America.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's probably the wisest decision. So we reach out and he says, look, there's nothing I'm going to rearrange. And even in that process of conversation, the best thing is not to have a foreigner come in and talk to your business, your team. You need to be the one. You're the mother, you're the father. Your voice is the most important voice, not some ring in. It doesn't matter who awesome they are. So it's like, oh yeah, no, there's no reason for me to stay. So I arrived on Wednesday. Okay, rebooked my flights, heading home to America Friday. So I call, they tell me it's going to cost me $1,500 to change my flights. I'm like, no way. The plane was 90% empty. There is no way. So can I talk to the manager? Finally, after an hour on the call, they say, we're going to waive this, but there's no refunds. Of course, I don't want a refund. I want to go back. So we get all the flights back in, booked in. Now I'm returning on Friday to America. And then we go to bed. And I'm thinking, I hope I make the right decision. I get up the next morning, and on the news, President Trump has, put all this locking things down in place. At midnight on Friday. I arrive at like 9 p.m. on Friday. At midnight on Friday, the border's closing. All of this, like, oh my gosh. And suddenly, the plane's gone from 90% empty to 90% full.
Oh my God. Everyone's like, get out of here.
Yeah, so it was like, oh God, you made me look so good.
Don't you love it when he does that?
Yep.
Looking so wise.
And we're supposed to be in Germany for a reason. And I'm with people whose business has gone sideways. So we get to, you'll like this, Shae. So I'm with this business. It's plastic injection molding company.
Wait. Plastic injection molding company. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So so your car, your vehicle has plastic parts that goes around electrical equipment. It's all, they make that kind of thing into the automotive industry. But the automotive industry is having a massive hiccup before the virus. So they weren't paying. So my friend is just imagine being owed $1 million and the company's not paying. That hurts.
Yes.
And so they've put a receiver in place to manage him through. Or do we close the company? Do we shut the doors down? Do we sell the company? You don't have a choice anymore. We're doing this on your behalf. On your behalf. And it's just like he's struggling with this, and like, God, where are you in this? As we pray, we're praying that receiver, the person that the whoever the authorities have put in over your business to manage it, regardless of what you want to do. We just feel like that's a gift from God. This person's going to help you. And then one of the team, because there's the three of us praying, one of the team says, so what's his name? And what does his name mean? And so my friend says, actually, his last name, his surname means shepherd.
Nice.
Shepherd. We're like, oh my gosh, shepherd. Okay, what's his first name? What's his first name? His first name translates, God is good.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. You just can't make this stuff up. The God is good shepherd is now running my company for me, has more power and authority than I do, is getting the funds off these companies.
Come on.
He's going to be able to manage it through the situation that my friend, that he wouldn't have been able to do, is actually going to get through this and have a company on the other side. If this hadn't have happened, the virus would have destroyed his company.
Wow.
Sometimes God delivers us from it. Sometimes God delivers it through it. And sometimes we die and get to spend eternity with him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he's the good shepherd regardless.
Yeah, that's so good. It was so kind of trippy to me because, Andy, you had sent me a copy of Finding Hope in Crazy Times. And I think your intention was to like release it in April sometime or something. I can't remember what the original plan was. I'd read it, I'd done the endorsement thingy and all of that. And then it was really hilarious and so timely to me that the release of a book called Finding Hope in Crazy Times ends up being released in the midst of this. So I actually am curious. Yeah. Did you have a particular plan that was prior to the Corona stuff that ended up getting delayed, where it ended up being this time? Or were you just like, hey, this is a perfect time, we've got coronavirus? Like, how did this whole thing play out?
Yeah. Great question. No, we didn't. We couldn't have orchestrated this like this. Actually, when this stuff started to, and when the virus started to come and how serious it was in different places, I was like, this is like selling water to someone in the Sahara Desert.
I know this was hard for you, Andy.
Yeah, should I be doing this? Like, this looks like a setup. So it was like for a while. And actually, in the middle of that, I was reading the book of Esther for a time such as this. And if you don't, I will send hope from some other source. And it was like okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it more than I've ever done it before. It feels so vulnerable. It feels so risky. And I don't know if anybody's going to even buy, even people looking for resources. There's that whole world. But in terms of the original plan was to have it ready to release for the February Heaven and Business Conference.
That's right. I forgot that. I did know that and I forgot.
Yeah, which we did. But the delay was Chris Valentin said he would be willing to write the foreword, which is like, thank you, this is awesome, this is great. But he says, but I need more time. So it's like, okay, dang, frustrated. I'm so frustrated. It slowed me down. It's delayed what I want to do. I wanted to launch it fully at this time. Now I can't, all of that stuff. And then I realized, another month. So I had to wait. So that was February. So then we were going to release it at the end of March, which would give the time to get the forward and get it all together and make all that happen. So we, and initially I'm thinking, it's actually, no, that's, Andy, you need that time to do this properly. And then, so that put us to the end of March, which was smack bang in the middle of the virus. So you could actually blame Chris, the prophet. Yeah. Finding hope in crazy times.
For the timely delay.
Yeah. And it was what we needed. And so we launched it just like a soft launch without the forward. Still had Shae Bynes endorsing it.
Gotta be worth something, right?
Yeah. So it was great to get that out and then do the work and get it properly launched at just at the start of. Actually, I think depending on where you look on Amazon, it launched on 1st of April Fool's Day. Finding hope in crazy times. I just thought it was so appropriate.
Okay, that just opened up a lot of stuff for me. So I'm trying to. Okay, all right. So because there's something that happened when I was in Reading, when I spoke at the Heaven and Business Conference that was February.
Yeah.
And there was a panel discussion happening, and Mama Shae showed up like out of nowhere on this rant about about purity and marketing. And I went on this whole thing, like I couldn't shut it up if I wanted to. It just came all out and it landed.
Yeah.
And you said something that caught me off guard a little bit. Because you said, Shae, that's so interesting that because you're like, I'm so glad you shared that. Because I'm like, sorry, I didn't even mean to do all of that. Like, and you're like, well, that's interesting because I never would think to even share a message like that because I am on the way opposite end of the spectrum. It takes everything in me just to market, period. Like the process for me to come to a point where I'm willing and actively sharing and working through, okay, Lord, what's the strategy for this thing and actually putting it out there. So I'm sure that there's people who totally resonate with that aspect of the journey for you.
Yeah.
And so I'd love for you to share like what that's been like for you and maybe even how it prepared you and helped you when it's time to do something that seems like you're trying to give, like it seems like maybe this is a bad time for me to be marketing this, but
really
yet it's
good.
actually a really great time.
Yeah, super good conversation. So what I experienced, and so with you, like hearing your story where you're like, okay, we're going to market this, we can do this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're more wired to, dude, this is business. You're going to pay for it. It's value. It's an exchange of value. So you have no problem charging for that. And it's like, you know you're good. I know I'm good. Like, come on. Like, so it's like, I love that. It's like the way you carry yourself, you've delivered value, you've taken this journey of trusting God, and then he tells you, I want you just to let people decide what they want to pay. And you're like, what?
Yeah, that was crazy to me.
And so listening to that, you're like, God's bringing you back. It's like, now I want you to trust me. I'm like, so I'm at the other end. I'm like, I know what we do is good. But it's just like this marketing promotion. I've seen it manipulated. I've seen inside the thing so well that I've done the opposite. I've like, no, I'm just not going to do any of that. And I've been in some church circles where the language is, self-promotion is evil, just allow God to promote you. And I have confused that with bad, I've confused self-promotion with bad marketing.
Right.
Okay, now, and we'll come back to that because this was going to really free some people up. So the two sides to the same coin. The core of it is trusting God. Trust God and then do what he tells you to do.
Yes.
So I can trust God, and then I call it passive surrender.
Passive surrender.
So where it's like, oh, I'm just trusting God. Now I'm mocking it a little bit.
Right.
Where I've come from. I'm just trusting God, and I'm just going to pray, and I'm just going to fast, and I'm just going to read my Bible, and if God wants this to happen, then he's going to bring the right person along. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's called passive and powerless, and actually you're hiding behind prayer.
Yes.
Actually, true prayer involves action. So then the opposite of that is grind, and you're you're
about to say I'm the expert at grind. Is that what you're going to say?
No. I don't mean that. You're the expert at is training people not to do that.
Not to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was hiding in my fear of being seen to be promoting myself,
Right.
of seen to being and doing, not trusting God, of what people would say look like me producing 2 books that are outstanding in their quality and substance. But it's like you put all of this work into this product, you break it off. It's not a book, it's a years of life.
Yes.
That. And then I just like put it onto the market. I mean, now I'm learning that is the stupidest thing ever. And I'm starting to realize that, and this is the journey that I've been on with God, is, Andy, look at the world. I look at the systems of the world. The systems of the world are neither good nor evil. It's what you use the system for. A car is neither good nor evil, but I could use that car to kill people. It kills people. That doesn't make the car evil. It just means you can also use that vehicle to take your sick mother to the hospital.
Yeah.
You can pick up. So it's the same with marketing systems and principles. Yes, people can use those principles and systems to sell stuff that you don't need, to manipulate you into believing that you should buy something that actually you're never going to use, to try and stir up a need that actually you don't have. You have money that you don't have. Yes, I know that it's manipulate. Yes, but even more so, shouldn't the people of God who walk in integrity and have great product, or the best that they know how, that they've produced this and it's the best of what they've got now, shouldn't they then understand and use the systems of the world, be as shrewd, be as innocent as a dove and shrewd as a snake?
Mm-hmm.
Like, use the systems to get a good product out there as best as possible. And I'm like, oh.
So is this a Holy Ghost mic drop moment? Like you're in the midst of struggling with this thing and he just dropped something on you like that? Or you caught a message that someone shared? Like, what was the catalyst?
I think it's a journey. I think it's this, I'm leading people, you're leading people, that it's this integration of God in all of life and in work. And you cannot exclude marketers. You cannot exclude lawyers. I don't care who you don't like. You cannot exclude them. You cannot, like, what's some other common ones? Oh, big pharma. Oh, don't you dare exclude them. Have you ever used a headache pill? Like, don't you dare exclude people. Don't you call unclean what God has called clean.
Yeah, so good.
There are people that are manipulating, doing things wrong. Yes, but don't you blanket put a label on them, because you are actually just killing your influence.
Yeah, so good. Keep going.
So I think the more that I've grown in leading people and meeting people like you, Shae, like Ray Edwards. Ray Edwards has been a gift of God for me, because here's a marketing, copywriting guy. He can write copy that just grabs you and you're like, whatever he says, I'm going to do it. But he's got such a pure heart, and his pastor framework in terms of selling is just like, dang, this guy's the real deal. So the closer I've got to some really genuine, authentic marketing people, I'm like, dang, I've started to become more and more aware that there's so many good products.
Yeah.
They have divorced themselves from the need for good marketing, whether that's employing somebody, whether that's learning it themselves. They're actually sabotaging their success in their future. So I was confronted with that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm so glad that God didn't just breathe on a book and make it just go like crazy, because I would have never grown and had to confront my own fear and insecurities and really fear of what people would say.
Yes.
All of that stuff. It's like, no, here's what I've learned. If you have got, it's not about self-promotion or not. It's about good marketing and bad marketing. Here's bad marketing. Bad marketing is you use the system to sell something that people don't want, and it's actually not very good. But here's good marketing, is that you've got something that adds value to people. And this is Jesus. I saw this in the life of Jesus. Jesus, wherever he went, he would use whatever platform he could access He stood on a mountain. He stood on a boat so that he could rinse. And he stands up and he says, come to me and I will make you. He was not afraid of saying, hey guys, I've got something that you need. Come and get it.
Yeah,
And
that's so good. And when you were talking about this whole thing around, you were saying it's like self-promotion was basically like the whole bad marketing thing or whatever. I think it gets twisted because it's like, so if the message is around, not self-promotion, it's like you don't have to elevate yourself. Like you're not responsible for shoving your doors open or pushing yourself in places where, where are not those places for you or in the timing of which they're supposed to. It's like, that's a level of promotion where it's like that self-promotion is like, yeah. But self-promotion, if you're talking about marketing your stuff, marketing your business, your personal branding business, whatever, it's like, you kind of have to. It's kind of a part of the thing. It's a part of the deal.
Get over it. Get used to it.
Get used to it. So are you used to it now, Andy?
And I know I'm uncomfortable still.
Okay.
I'm still. So even more so, here's a time where I'm stepping out, taking risk, and I've got a book, and now God's just jacked it up because of this virus. Do I hashtag COVID-19 on my posts? Do I what? Where's being sensitive? It's like, oh my gosh. And so that in the middle of that, on the back of that backdrop, like God's saying, Andy, if you 100%, so if you're watching, listening to this, if you 100% believe that what you've got adds value, then it's irresponsible not to let people know about it.
Yes.
It's irresponsible not to. And where you've been holding back, it's a belief thing. So either partner with someone like Shae, you've got people that you know and trust. They're really, really good people of integrity that can help us grow. So that said, Andy's got this book, Finding Hope in Crazy Times, Daily Stories of Him God. I know that it's good because Shae read it. You tell me. Ray Edwards has been fantastic. I said, Ray, is this good? And he goes, no, this is weird. Andy, I don't read these things. I'm not into this. But what you've got is valuable. It's really changing lives. And it's like, okay, this can really help. So in the middle of that, I'm still like, okay, what do I do? Like, I'm a part of a church that has a global reach. What do I do? Can I leverage that? What can I do? All of these different things. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so that's when I read Nehemiah. And Nehemiah, the cupbearer, the food business that God places on his heart, a city, gives him a message that you could help build a city. And he had no idea of what he had access to. He had to ask. And when he asked, he got more than what he wanted. Oh yeah, hey, I'll give you this, give you this, give you this. So he had to ask. So God's saying, Andy, you've got to ask. Oh, can I just pretend? Send one of those emails. It's like, hey, I've got this gift for you. But the secret really is, as opposed to Ray would say, put it in the subject line. I am asking for a favor. Be upfront.
Yes.
And then the second thing is that, as I was saying, Esther, is like one morning I listened to both, listening on Audio Bible and the story of Esther. You're born, you're placed, you have access, you have influence for a time such as this. And if you don't do it, God's saying, I will send hope from another source, but you do it. And it's just like, oh. So it just like it jacked me enough to say, oh, I better do this. At the same time, so much believe this, in 1st of January, I paid $4,000 to do a self-publishing school marketing learning.
Okay.
So Ken LeBolt's program. And that has been really, really helpful. It's like, oh my gosh, can I afford that money? Can I not afford the money? Okay, Andy, that would be 500 books more than normal that you'd have to sell. So I had to process this is faith in action.
It is. This is the real deal.
So we did that. I learned so much about categories, Amazon, keywords, all of these different things. You've still got to have a product that's right.
Yeah.
So we did that, and I'm like, okay, now it says that I should reach out to people. So I was talking to a coach. And so now I've got a publishing coach as a part of that program. And she loves Jesus as well. She's launching a product. And I'm like, so what do you think? She says, well, why don't you just pick some people that would be great? She gave some suggestions. Like, you should just send Joe Rogan Like, I know he's got a completely different, just send him a book.
Right.
And it just became what have I got to lose? At the moment, I'm 0 from 0. Take a shot. You could miss, but at least you've taken a shot.
Right.
So I, okay, who could I send it to? And so here's what I did. So this is the partner with Holy Spirit. Just ask Holy Spirit, who could I send this to? And I just sat back. I thought, okay, I'm going to send, my coach has suggested that, so I'm going to send that. And I thought, what about the president? The president's going to need help. So I put a book in the post to the president with a note. I have no idea whether they're going to open that up or not. But I sent him a copy saying, hey, thank you for doing the best that you can in crazy times.
That's it.
I sent a copy to Oprah Winfrey. Now,
come on.
And now that just came back to me. Like, I don't know.
It came back to you in the mail?
Yeah. Hey, Oprah, if you're listening to this, I got a book for you. It's a gift.
That is so hilarious.
Yeah. I said, Tim Tebow. Sent a copy to Tim Tebow Foundation. I just got a postcard back from them saying, thank you so much for this book and just loving what we do. I'm like, awesome.
This is huge for you, Andy. Like, this is huge.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a virtual fist bump.
Oh, boom. I'm receiving that.
Because that is huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And it's literally that, which all comes back to the belief. It's all about the belief. Do you believe that you have God with you and that what you're producing is helping people?
Yeah.
If you do, then you have no right to hide and pretend and just say God's going to do it. Don't be stupid, Andy. Like, for goodness sake, you're hiding. We've built this platform with Heaven and Business. And I'll be like, no, I don't need to speak. I'm just going to get all my friends because they're so good. And my team are like, stop being like they used much nicer words. Like, stop it. Like, you need to stand on this. You have a voice. Let your voice be heard. You've got a voice of practical hope. The world is craving that. Get up there, fumble through. It won't be perfect. And if you're ready to launch, you've launched too late. So get up there and just go for it.
That was a word right there. Okay, it's kind of a switch of gears, kind of sort of, because you had opened up some stuff earlier when you said something. Now I'm like, now I need to talk about all the things. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
One of the things, so I was sharing in the podcast I do with my husband, this Kingdom Life, we were just talking about you the other day because I was sharing how, so there's this thing like, I think I've told you in the past about this promised house, or I shared it when you, Ray, and I were doing the promos, or the conversations, the 30 Days of Hope on Facebook on that broadcast. Yeah. And I was sharing how, I look at my own history with God and just the movement of God in our lives, because I can always stand on the history to remind me of his character, his nature. I can trust him and to walk this thing out in faith. But I also love to identify testimonies that are connected to the same thing I'm standing for, not because I think God's going to do it the same way, not because I'm going to stand in expectation that God's going to do it the same exact way or anything like that, but because it's like it releases hope in a niche. It's like niche hope. It's like, okay, so I've been listening to or paying attention to or keeping an open ear for like testimonies related to like these crazy, crazy things where God promises a house situation and it seriously takes God for any of this orchestration to kind of work out. And it does. And it's been so helpful for me. So anyway, I was thinking about how you mentioned April 1st.
Yeah.
Which it triggered something in me about this book and something the Lord said to you about April 1st when you were flying. So for one, I want you to share that story, but also for my benefit and others, I would love to hear about this, just like God orchestrate as you're doing the thing that God's called you to do.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out, like, you can't figure out all the things of how to navigate the challenge of what's facing you, but how God leads and just does crazy stuff. So I want to release that testimony, but please start with the April 1st mic drop moment you had.
Yeah. So here's the deal. And this is the start of last year. So we're in like a year and a bit ago. at the start of the year, I'm hearing God say, advance in darkness, advance in contradiction, advance in rest. And I'm like, awesome, let's go. And then this stuff are all around me. My wife's health was just terrible. So just a nerve condition. It's just debilitating. We were struggling through, still recovering from fire and snowmageddon. It just was unbelievable from thing to thing to thing. It was just destroying us. We had to come up with we'd rented this house, so it was like a rent to buy. We paid a non-refundable $80,000. We had to come up with a huge amount more, and it was impossible, literally impossible. Except I just had this word from God, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the most expensive rental in my life, or God's going to come through. So this gap between everything God had said and what we're experiencing. There was multiple other, family members of my team, and then to top it all off, March the 17th last year, the 21-year-old son of one of my team members and a very, very close friend, the dad, he was killed in a tragic car accident.
I remember that.
And I just everything stops. Everything, you're thinking, what's the point? God, I started to think, I'm doing well, but everything around me is tanking. Everyone around me is struggling. And now to top it off, death, that's kind of pretty final. And they sacrificed and poured out, and God, we had these business delays. I'd lent money to a friend. He hadn't paid back. It was messy. And just like, God, I'm leading people to trust you for the impossible. And here I am surrounded by just pain and hurt and delays and disappointments. Am I missing something? Am I stepping out beyond God? Am I making assumptions? Am I misunderstanding or misinterpreting? And I'm like, oh God, I'm embarrassed. I'm stepping out and I'm ashamed. I'm feeling this shame. And so I just need to shrink back. So I've got this memorial service to go to in Australia. So I hop on the plane in Redding, California. I'm flying to Australia. Remember at the start of the year, God said, advance in darkness, advance in contradiction, advance in rest.
That's right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, advance and mess. I'm like, yeah, this is what we got. When he said that, I didn't think we'd have mess like this. Contradiction, advance in darkness, advance in mess, advance in contradiction, and advance in rest. And I'm like, oh God, this is, when you get the word, it's like, oh yeah. And then you start to walk it out. It's like, oh. So I get to Australia, there's nothing for me to do. So I'm sitting there, I've got my journal, got my Heaven and Business journal sitting down, and I'm like, I just, when you don't know what to do, I'll go back and review, what did God say? So I just go back over the year and just reflecting, okay, that's what he said, advance. Next day, keep moving. Next day, patiently trust me. Next day, it's like, keep going. It's like, And I'm like, okay, God, you've said do this. Isaiah 54, enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch, let them stretch you out. Be stretched. Build a new bedroom. Prepare for the promise that you've lost hope for. All of that. I'm like, God, I just don't know. Am I missing? So I got your historic word. I've got that, but I need something fresh for today. And so I'm just sitting there, nothing else to do in Australia, waiting for this, and just pause. And God, I need to hear your voice today. And this thought pops in my head. What day did you leave America for Australia? And I've learned that that's the voice of God, because I wouldn't have thought that. It's like, and it's like, and plus I knew, and like God, if God didn't anyway. So I thought that was Sunday. It was March. I think it was March the 31st. And then next question, what day did you arrive in Australia? And it's like, well, that was Tuesday, April the 2nd. And as if I need to explain myself to God, because we crossed the international date line while I was on a plane, and so we lost a day, and so it's just the things you do. And then that question, what day did you miss? And that's when it really hit me. It's like, we missed April the 1st. It did not exist in my calendar, in my life last year, because I was on a plane flying in this change in time zones. You missed a day. And just hear God say, Andy, there are no April Fools with you. You will not be embarrassed or ashamed. You can trust me. I don't lead you out to leave you alone. I will accomplish everything I said I would accomplish. Joshua 21:45. And the Lord fulfilled every promise that he spoke. And I just wept.
I never get tired of hearing that. I've probably heard that 5 times now. I never get tired of hearing that.
Yeah. I don't get tired of telling it.
So good.
Just that.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So, and it's like, it doesn't change anything externally in the moment, but it just realigns your belief. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I'm going to believe God. He's able to rescue me, but even if he doesn't, I'm not backing down.
Right.
Jesus, I don't want to go to the cross. God, I don't want to go. Is there a better way? But nevertheless, not my will, but your be done.
Yeah.
It's like I'm living with eternity in mind. It is painful. It is messy, but the rewards are just worth it. So you want to know what happened with the house, right?
I do.
No. Do you want numbers or do you want generalities?
I want numbers, man.
Okay. So this house is a ridiculous house. This is like $785,000, maybe for a city. That's not ridiculous, but for us, it's huge. It's 3 times the size of the house that we were in. When we came to America, we sold our house in New Zealand, which is a wonderful 4-bedroom double living area with a separate detached garage that had an additional like guest quarters in the garage, backed onto a park, and we had no debt, 0 debt. Just the grace of God, buying and selling, investing in property, working in finance and agriculture. So we'd paid it off completely. And it's like, oh my, now I'm set up for God to about to use us. He's like, sell it and go to America. It's like, no. We just got to the point of like, it's like, so we go to America where we come here, and within a very short period of time, I hear him say, you're here for an extended period of time. You're going to have land in this land, and I'm giving you a house. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. So we go 3 years with no income. And so all of the house proceeds that we had from New Zealand got eaten up. We call it eating our house, which is trying to use humor for what was just incredibly
That was not funny, right?
So we go through this. We end up, it's like, God, how are we going to do this? And just this up and down. And the same as you, I was intentionally recording and remembering and finding testimonies of properties and houses and so on. So after, I think it was 5 years, we actually got given enough and across 2 years to put a deposit on a house. So a small house. So with our 4 teenagers and 1 dog, but it was our house. So we got in there, we can do this. We were paying $1,500 a month for the interest. What is it? Interest, principal, and tax.
The PIMI.
That's it.
Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, God, we're safe here. It was like, thank you, Jesus. Went from renting to owning. Boom. And now we're in a house. But both of us had this sense of, but there's something else. There's something more. And so we carry that was 2014. And then we keep getting these words like, I'm giving you a house. I'm giving you a house. I'm like, okay, we'll just wait. And then I connect with this business, and it's a global business startup in cybersecurity. And it's an unbelievable business model. And literally they've been about to fall off a cliff a couple of times, and it just brought just wisdom, godly insight that's turned around. And so they say, Andy, right from the start, we feel like we're supposed to be with you in this, and this is going to be crazy in terms of the deals. Like the numbers are ridiculous. And I'm not being paid anything. So we want to give you a house. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I ignored them for 6 months because I'm like, whatever. It's been around. And they said, no, we're going to do this. So based on that, we start to look. We're starting to look, what do we look for? And then they say, we can't look at some houses. Like if God said, go for your dream house, what is it? What's my budget? Just look for your dream house. So then they send. Now, it's a funny thing is, we actually initially we're looking. Look at $1 million houses. It's like no, those we just don't like. They don't like those for us. It's like this house. This is perfect. It's like homestead, backs onto recreational area. But the only way we could even look at this is they sent us a letter of intent so that the real estate agent would actually trust us to look at it.
Right.
So we look in, we feel the peace of God. We come to this place. It's like, oh my gosh, this is it. But I'm feeling terrified. Like, this is so far. Okay, but I've got this letter of office. This business is going to underwrite us. So we get in and he agrees. They agree to a price, all of those things. And then the business says, hey, sorry, one of our partners has been stealing from us. We're not in a position to do anything. I'm like, you tricked me. Like, you deceived me. And then I hear God say, Andy, they are not your source. I am. I'm like, okay, so where's the cash?
Still
where's
in the
cash? I've got, now pushing it, I've got, now we put down, so then we're like, what do we do? And we hear God say, stand up, pick up your mat and walk. As in beliefs again, own it. Like, you got to say, and like, what if people knew that I've got a house this big? And all of this is the stupidest thing. What if Dave Ramsey found out what we're doing? He would he'd have kittens. Like, this is crazy. And like, I'm a business guy. This is not business sense. It doesn't make sense. Just trust me. Walk. Did I call you to live impossible or not? I'm like, oh, okay. And actually, there were 2 properties we were looking at. One was doable. Then there's this one. And God said, I didn't call you to live possible. I called you to live impossible.
Yes.
So like, okay. So we talked to the owner, the seller, and he says, well, I'm not going to carry it for you, but I'm willing to, if you pay $3,000 a month plus give me a non-refundable $80,000 deposit. Let's do this. And you're responsible for all the repairs, maintenance, everything else. I'm not touching. It's like I sell the house to you today.
The least option to buy.
Well, it's not even that. Yeah, you exercise the option, but the option cost is $80,000. So if you walk away, you lose the $80,000.
You lose that too, yes.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you are living in it as if you own it. You're responsible for everything. And then, so we get in. I'm like, okay, God, we don't even have the money to pay $3,000 a month.
I'm trying to figure out where the $80,000 came from. Was that the rest of eating your other house?
Yeah, that was so we had that house in between.
Oh, right.
2014. Okay. So when we sold that gave us the deposit for this.
Okay, got it.
But from any banker's understanding, dude, you can't do this. You can't do this. So we get in. There's so much to this story that to it. Like, we don't even have the money for the rent. It's like, God, if this is you, we're not going to proceed unless you come up with that. We need some cash to know this is you. Nothing happens. So we can't even find a place to rent. So I've sold our house. Now we've got nowhere to go. It was just unbelievable. And this was a last minute. We had some people that I least expected, give us. One gave a check for $12,000. One gave a check for $11,500. Total $23,500, which was, now I've got to do this. So we go into this rent for 1 year. We sign up, and then we had to close kind of like June, July 2019. In the middle of that, we have this 6 weeks into owning that, like in that renting.
Yes, owning in air quotes.
We had the car fire, which burns the entire recreation area behind the property, which is like, God, this is the reason we moved here. Like, yes. And now it's gone. It's like, I'm living in Mordor from Lord of the Rings. It's just like, the house is still standing, but there was $120,000 of smoke damage. And so it was crazy times. It's like crazy
times.
Then we get back in. Then we have Snowmageddon, and the trees that didn't get burned got smashed by the snow. And then this is, and the God's saying, advance in darkness, advance in contradiction, advance in mess, advance in rest. And I'm just punch drunk. And it's like, God, what? So we go through trying to navigate with insurance, looking at the property. How do we do this? I've got health problems with my wife. She's just done. Like, I'm just done with this. And I get to that April 1st, and God says, you will not be ashamed. When you step out and you trust me, you can trust me. You will not be embarrassed or ashamed. I'm like, well, it sure feels like it. You will not be embarrassed or just keep moving. So he tracked down, and I'm getting closer, and my wife's health's terrible. And God, we need to come up with $700,000. And my salary is like this is like, I think
The math is not adding up.
The bank approved me 300,000. So let's just know where you're at. Okay, so we've got a massive shortfall. What do we do? So in the middle of that time, like, everything God's saying is keep walking, trust me. Because I'm like, oh, well, if you're going to drown, you might as well drown in 6 feet rather than 6 inches. So like, we're all into this. And so we're moving forward. We gets to probably end of April, May of last year. And I'm like, what do we do? Like, there's nothing. All of the businesses that I'm a part of, every single one of them got sidelined, delayed. Not a single one came through with a promise of finance. And it's just like, that whole man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word.
Yes.
This is true. It's like, you shall not live by the economy, but by God's economy. You don't live by your salary, but by God's salary. It's like, I'm learning to live that out, and it's messing me good. I get to the end of April with a friend, and he goes, what's going on with your house? And I said, well, I don't know. Like, and I'm talking to some finances and waiting to hear back, but the most that they will do is this. I talk to some private lenders, but they're not going to lend me that amount either. So here's my options. If I can get into this, at least if I can hold it for 6 months, then I can sell it and at least get the $80,000 back.
Right.
Plus, because we went through the fire, there's a $50,000 payout from the insurance company for landscaping. But the owner, because we don't actually own it, he's not going to give it to me until we actually own the house. Otherwise, I lose the $80,000 and the $50,000.
Yes.
It's just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Advance in darkness.
Yeah. Advance in contradiction.
Advance in contradiction.
And so this gets us circles back to this passive surrender. So I'm like, okay, God, I trust you. And my friend says to me, Andy, so what are you going to do? You're just waiting for God to like drop money from the sky? I'm like, maybe.
Like, that sounds pretty good.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. He goes, Andy, you're surrounded by these business people. Do any of them know what you're walking through? I'm like, heck no. There's no way I'm telling business people my job is to encourage and empower business people, not to extract their money from them. That's too long. That's what institutional religion has done. I refuse to do that. He goes, I get that, but that's not you. So you're reacting. Why don't you ask the Holy Spirit who to talk to? I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel this conviction. This is this marketing, putting myself out there. So I get 6 names, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose friends. I'm going to lose once they find I'm a failure, all this stupid head talk. The first one I talked to, and I said, okay, I want your advice. So, email, have this conversation. This is where we're at. I need your advice. This guy's a multimillionaire. He's a real business people. I'm fraud. Like, I'm just like stupidest business idea ever. and he goes, Andy, first words, Andy, I love you, love what you're doing, so believe in you. If we had the liquid capital, we'd do it in a heartbeat. I'm like, he's basically saying, I don't have that funds available.
Right.
But if I did, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I actually put in an email because of my banking background. I said, I'm not going to tell you the God story. I'm just going to tell you straight, stand up. This is the house. This is what it's worth. This is the situation. These are the business deals that we're part of that could turn into some income and change our situation. But if they don't, here's my fallback position. So What I'm looking for is 700,000, and I'm talking 5.5% interest in the period of time until we sell. Yes. And here's the time frame. So I had all of those things down.
Yep.
And he said, if we had the money, we'd do it in a heartbeat. He goes, I think you're a little bit short on what you're offering. 5%, it probably needs to be 6.5%. And so he gave me some really good advice.
Yes.
And sent me back to the owner. Go and talk to the owner. So there's 6 people like that. And then I have a dream. And in the dream is another person I should talk to. So I talk to them. Not a single one of these people actually came through with any of the proceeds, but every single one confirmed, you're hearing God, keep moving forward. If we had the funds, we'd help you. We don't have the funds right now. I'm like, but there was one name on that list that I was just delaying talking to, because it's like, I don't want to talk to that person, because that I so don't want my relationship to be about money, and ever. So I'm delaying. I go back in the process. I talk to the landlord. The landlord's like, let me think about it. I don't really want to do this. We want to get our money out, but let's have a conversation. And because he stands to lose as well. Like, and then, but not as much as me. Then, so this one final person, I'm like, okay, here we go. I've just got, what have I got to lose? So I email him, in the subject line I put, this feels vulnerable. And then I say, dear, let's call him Shae. Dear Shae, dear Phil, that sounds more. Dear Phil, and I just said, I need your advice. I'm asking for your advice up front. This is not, I know you have means, but this is not about that. I want your advice first. And if through this, that comes something else, then great. But I need your advice. And I laid the whole thing out, including our financial position, income, everything. And he responds straight away. I'm thinking, okay, this could be the end of my friendship. And he responds straight away with, let's have a conversation. So we have a conversation. In the conversation, it gets to, so no, walk me through what you've done. Okay, so I said this. And he goes, okay, so you bought this house? Yeah. And you follow the voice of yeah. So you bought this knowing that you can't pay for this? Yeah.
Oh, Andy.
Yeah. And he goes, so help me understand why you did that. And so he's just asking really straight, direct questions. This is called due diligence. And I said, well, I'm just on this journey of learning to follow the voice of God, and this is the history, and so this is what I was doing, is following his voice. So no, I get that. He's just like, okay, I get that, fully understand. And so he directs me back to the owner as well. But I came away so encouraged. He goes, no, this is good. You're doing this right, but this is what and he wasn't talking anything, but very sound advice.
Yes.
So I go back to the owner, the seller of the property. And this is where we're at. And he comes back and he says, well, I'm willing to lend you $500,000 at 6.75% interest with the 1.25% origination fee. Initially, he was talking less than that in terms of costs. And now then he spoke to his agent and puts everything up.
Like, yeah, you're being too generous.
I'm like, grrr. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And here's what will pay for it, is the $50,000 of insurance money that comes back buys me 12 months. I'm thinking, these are the most expensive, stupidest things ever. So we track in. I'm like, okay, but I still need to come up with $200,000.
Right.
Okay, I talked to an alternative financer. They're like, nah. Yeah, there's 2 options, but I still need to come up with $200,000. So I go back, second call with this business friend. Actually, it became a third call, because every time I do what he said, come back, this is where we're at.
Is this the one who was the one who was really the last one that you didn't want to call?
Correct.
That one. Okay.
And so we go through that, and he says, well, so where are you at? And I said, this is where we're at. We're still 200,000 short, but the seller's committed to do this. I've got a couple of calls I can make, a few others to see if they can come up with 200,000. He says, well, he goes, I was reading Psalm 37 this morning, and I just feel like the Lord wants you to know the righteous shall possess the land. It says again and again and again. Andy, I feel like you're really supposed to own this. This is God saying you're supposed to own this land. Now, this guy, having that from him was just huge, huge encouragement. And it's like, but that's not all. He says, then, Andy, for me, he said, I just read that the righteous are generous and lend, and their children after them are blessed. So you've obviously got favor. I just feel like I'm supposed to help you. So I'm going to lend you $200,000 interest-free indefinitely. And I just, it's like, can I cry?
Would this be the moment where I can start crying?
Yeah. He goes, I know that you want to repay that, but we can talk about that, but this is what it is. And I'm just like, if I hadn't listened to advice, and actually asked. If I had asked wrongly, if I hadn't taken the risk, I'm sitting in today, 3 months later, we got given $20,000 that enabled us to refinance from the seller at 6.75 to a bank at 3.25%. Unbelievable.
And your salary hasn't changed, by the way, so that's favor too.
Yep, nothing's changed in my salary. Nothing else externally has changed.
Right.
So now I'm sitting in this house. Like that doesn't make sense.
It makes zero sense.
But it's the gift of God. And every time I'm faced with how am I going to budget? Andy, look what he's got you to today. Okay, this is impossible. We are walking on water. We're called to walk on water. I'm called to lead people into the impossible. And God is faithful, and he will not let you be ashamed.
So good.
That's what this is. It's like, this is the stories that are helping people.
So good.
That's the story. It's still working out. It's like, oh, don't you wish that God would just drop the proceeds? No, I don't actually now. Because what I've grown in faith, just step by step, walking it out, is priceless.
Yeah.
And that journey with God, rather than God just rescuing you.
It's your journey.
Your journey of these houses and navigating it and growing kingdom-driven entrepreneur every step of the way. That's what's gold that no one can take from me.
That's right. That's so good. Man, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. I feel like that just wasn't for me to want to rehear, because I can hear these stories over and over again, but I think that many are going to be encouraged so much by it. Yeah. Andy, where do folks go? I mean, tell them about the book, shout out whatever you want to shout out.
Thank you.
How do people connect with you?
Yeah. What I should do is I should read this.
Okay.
There's this lady, Shae Bynes, says this: life is a wild and crazy adventure. And if you found yourself in the midst of challenging times, then you'll surely find your own story within these pages. More importantly, you'll find encouragement and will encounter the goodness of an extravagantly loving God. Thank you, Shae Bynes, kingdom-driven entrepreneur, author of Grace Over Grind, How Grace Will Take Your Business Where Grinding Will Never. So that's this. So last year, Janine and I, my wife, we just were talking about what's in our hand. And we come up with, she's at wonderful writing. And I've got lots of messy journals of hearing God navigating this journey that we've been on. So we just agreed, what if we took that and took one of my journal entries of literally those stories I've told you that yes. I will not be ashamed, that don't change the subject. I'll just keep forward, moving forward, trust me, as it pertains to daily hearing his voice, and man shall not live by bread alone, but by the voice of God.
Yes.
And so we turned that, Janine did. She took my journal entries, took them articulated them and translated them so others could read them into the story. Here's the anchor scripture word from God. Here's the application. Here's questions to take you deeper, prayer just to send to people, and then what's the action step? What are you going to do today? And that's literally less than 10 minutes a day. You can walk through that, and it will literally give you practical hope, engaging with God, growing your walk with him, and help you. And the beauty of that, there's an audiobook, there's an ebook, there's a print book. If you get the print book or the ebook, you get the audiobook for free.
Did you read the audiobook?
Yes, and it's with my voice.
Excellent.
And like this, here's a cheat. If you want to do an audiobook, you can pay thousands and thousands of dollars to get someone to do it for you. Or you go into your bedroom, you close the curtain, you surround yourself with the pillows, you get a Rode microphone, plugs into your phone, and you literally record it yourself. And then for about $1,000, you get an audio engineer to tidy it up. Boom.
Done.
So that's why we're thinking, I'm investing $1,000 into this audio book and hours of recording time.
Yeah.
But we just did it
it's
ourselves.
Totally worth it, though.
Give it away. So here you go. This will feed you with hope.
Plus, you've got a great voice to listen to. You get to enjoy Andy's accent. Awesome.
This is the accent. Yeah. So, yep, that's all on Amazon.
I love it. So that's on Amazon. And you guys, if you haven't connected with Heaven in Business, they're just doing amazing stuff. That's at heavenandbusiness.com. But Andy, thank you so much for hanging out with me, sharing your story, sharing
fun.
all the goodness. It's always fun to connect with you. And I did look before we hopped on here, and the last time that you were on the podcast was May 2015, like episode 91.
Wow.
It's been a minute. So let's not wait 6 years before we have you come back again.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Shae.
Thanks for joining us on the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we encourage you to subscribe and spread the word. And don't forget, you can gain access to even more resources, plus a thriving community of fire starters by visiting our website at kingdomdrivenentrepreneur.com.